Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have back with us, and an honor, boy, to get them so close together is really something. So we are grateful to have back with us today David Rubin, former mayor of Shiloh, Israel. He's the founder and the president of the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, and which is an outstanding organization to assist terror victims and children after that even he and his son have experienced when they were wounded. He's also the author of quite a few books, and there's a couple that you need to check out. And of course, the bestseller is The Islamic Tsunami. Wow, it is a must-read. And his latest book, Sparks from Zion. Now, you can go to davidrubinisrael.com. Check him out there. Look for him in the bookstores or Amazon, or his other website is shilohisraelchildren.org. And we want to talk to him today about some of the connections of the Tel Aviv attack and the Orlando attack. Hi, David. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, good to be with you, Perry.
Good to see you again. Well, listen, what do you see as the connection or the commonality between what happened in Orlando and Tel Aviv?
Well, I can sum it up in one word. It's called jihad. Jihad, for those of your viewers who don't know, means holy war against all non-Muslims. And that is what binds together the terrorists of the Orlando attack and the terrorists of the Tel Aviv attack, and frankly the terrorists from San Bernardino and Paris attacks and the Brussels attacks and 9/11 and all the other attacks in Israel. We could go on and on. The bottom line is that holy war against all non-Muslims, which is jihad, the highest precept in Islam, is what binds them all together.
You know, David, why do you think, this could be a political question, but I'm looking at it from the big picture, why do you think our president struggles for calling this what it is?
Well, President Obama has his personal reasons. You know, we're all a product of what we come from. And, you know, whether we like to admit it or not, you know, every son wants to identify with his father in some way and wants to be loyal to his father. Obama was raised by a Muslim. Obama's father was a Muslim. Okay, he lost him as he died when he was a young child, but he raised them in the beginning, and then he always held them up as an ideal all through the years. And in fact, Obama's book, Dreams from My Father, you know, it's a song of praise to his father. And I know he was also raised by a communist mother, and you know, the grandmother, so it was a combination act. But Obama always held his father up as this image that is to be attained. And so when Obama could not say the word Islamic before terrorism, when Obama cannot say the word Islamic after the word radical or before terrorism, when he can't use that juxtaposition of words, it tells me that there is a personal issue at play here. Right. Hillary came around and she actually spurted out the words yesterday under pressure from a news reporter. But Obama cannot say it because he would consider it to be a betrayal of his father.
Very interesting. All right. So do you see a connection, the Ramadan connection here? Do you see a connection with Ramadan and these attacks?
Well, Ramadan is the Islamic month that we are in right now. It started last week. They call it the holy month of Ramadan. Muslims fast throughout the day and until sunset, and then they pig out. Pardon the pun. They just eat like crazy, and so Muslims, this is what they do that for a whole month. So why is that a problem? Nothing wrong with it. You know, it may not be good for their digestive systems, but the fact is that Ramadan is more than that. There was an article written 2 days before the Tel Aviv terrorist attack last week and it was written by one of the top Hamas terrorists, and the article was entitled "Ramadan, the Month of Jihad, Fighting and Victory Over the Enemies." Okay, and in this article he praises jihad, holy war for the sake of Allah, and he calls it the pinnacle of Islam and one of the best and most noble deeds, right, to die as a martyr on behalf of Allah. Well, this is what happened in Orlando. This is what happened in Tel Aviv. This is what happened in hundreds, even thousands of Islamic terrorist attacks in the past 15 years. So Ramadan has become a symbol of jihad for Muslims. And that's why we had these attacks in the past week, and that's why we may have more attacks if they have their way in the next couple of weeks.
Wow. There's some similarities of what happened in San Bernardino and what happened in Orlando, in that it looks like it was a husband and wife team. Now, as you know, the news now, it looks like she's going to be implicated in this crime as supporting her husband. We're having a hard time wrapping our head around this, but is that a norm?
Why? Why are you having a hard time wrapping your head around that?
Well, look, I say that as a figurative speech. I think there is a growing sentiment out there that we realize that we are in a war against a religion that wants to dominate. I think we get that. But looking at it from the secular press point of view, they have a hard time putting their head around the fact that a husband and wife team would do this.
Well, it's, you know, we've had so many female terrorists in Israel, women who hold knives under those long robes that they wear, and then they stab Israelis with it. Women who hide bombs underneath those long robes that they wear. The women who praise jihad and talk about how they can't wait to go to heaven and to be one of the women who gets to have sexual relations with the martyrs, the terrorist martyrs. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre mentality, Perry. I know it's hard for many people to comprehend it, but that is the Islamic mentality. And it doesn't mean every single Muslim is like that, but it does mean that those Muslims who are observant and believe in jihad, they believe in terrorism, because jihad is the religious basis for terrorism. And whether it's men or women, you know, we better get our hands on this, yes, and wake up to the fact that the mentality that they have is not our mentality, and we should stop thinking about it in some sort of peaceful Jewish or Christian mentality where you guys might be talking about turning the other cheek. Well, you know, you turn the other cheek, then you're going to get stabbed in the head with these people. We're supposed to hate evil. We're not supposed to hate people. We're supposed to love people, but we're supposed to hate evil.
You bring up a very interesting point here, David. Whether it's 5 or 10% of the Islamic faith has been radicalized, why haven't we heard from the 90 to 95% that are supposed to be so-called peace-loving? We don't see a leader of that portion of the faith condemning any of this. I mean, I don't even know who that person would be. But if it's only 5 to 10%, why are they acquiescing? Why are the 90 to 95% acquiescing to this? Why aren't they speaking out?
Well, two reasons. One reason is because secretly and peacefully they are supporting the terrorists. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Holy Land Foundation. It's a foundation that supports the Islamic terrorism. And it funnels funds from the United States, from a lot of Muslim donors, and they give money to the Islamic terrorist organizations. And there are some wealthy Muslims out there, by the way. I mean, former rock star Cat Stevens, okay, now known as Yusuf Islam. He tried to come to Israel, and he was stopped at the airport because he had thousands of dollars that he was planning on giving to the Hamas terrorist organization. There are a lot of Muslims who don't commit terrorist attacks themselves, but they are supporting the terrorists and they are standing with the terrorists. That's one part of the answer. As for the other part of the answer, many of the peaceful Muslims are afraid because the violent Muslims are the ones who dominate. I'll give you an example. All right, I live here in Shiloh, as you probably know, here in the biblical heartland of Israel. And there was a fellow who used to work here. He worked here for years. Okay, his name was Ahmed. I mean, that's not his real name, but I say that to protect his safety and privacy. And so Ahmed would come every single day to Shiloh. He worked here full time. He was great with home renovations, and people liked him. He was a friendly sort of guy. Well, suddenly he disappeared. For a whole month, he didn't come to work. And then I see him after a whole month, approximately. And so I run over to him and said, Ahmed, what happened? And he had bandages all over his face. He picked up his shirt. He showed me black and blue marks all over his body. And he had a bandage around his head. And he said, I was taken in by the Palestinian Authority. They beat me, they tortured me, I was in jail for a whole month, and they told me that they will never let me out to see my family again until I promise never to work with the Jews again. Wow. So he agreed to that. That one day when I saw him, when he came to Shiloh, apparently just to say his goodbyes to people and to get paid, I haven't seen him since then, and it's been several years.
Wow.
That we're talking about, Perry. That's why those who actually are peaceful are afraid to speak out.
Wow. So intimidation rules, obviously. Let me take a break here with our good friend David Rubin. By the way, 2 sites that you can connect with him, ShilohIsraelChildren.org, and that's the site for the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, which is an outstanding organization helping children who are victims of terrorism. And then DavidRubinIsrael.com also is his website. Let me take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
All right, welcome back, and it's a delight and an honor to have back with us today David Rubin, former mayor of Shiloh, Israel. We're Skyping him in from there today. He's the founder and the president of the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, established to assist terror victims, children that is, that have been traumatized through terrorist attacks, which he and his son have both experienced. He's the author of quite a few books, but a couple that you may want to check out. The Islamic Tsunami is a must-read. It does go into detail a lot of things that we're talking to David about today. And his latest book, Sparks from Zion. And again, there's a couple of websites, ShilohIsraelChildren.org, or you can go to DavidRubinIsrael.com. By the way, David, are your books available at Amazon?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so you can check it out at Amazon. All right, I got 2 questions. Hopefully I can squeeze them in here. The number 1 question is this, and it's 2 parts. It seems that the part of the radical Islamic terrorist operation is they are quick to claim responsibility for such attacks, but prior to that, they pre-announce what they're going to do. We still don't believe that. What's your response? Why did they do this?
Well, the reason they claim responsibility and the reason why they announce that they're going to be launching terrorist attacks is because they're proud of it. That's how they gain popularity on the Muslim street. It's like what we were discussing before. People don't get it. that the civilians, that the Muslim civilians who may not be terrorists, they may not be carrying guns in their hands or bombs, but they secretly support, and not so secretly, they support the terrorists. So when a terrorist organization announces that they're going to be launching violent terrorist attacks, they're actually garnering for support. They want to get the people behind them, and that's how they get support. They don't get support by saying we're going to be peaceful. And after the terrorist attack, they're quick, whether it's ISIS or Al Qaeda or Fatah or Hamas or Hezbollah or Taliban or Boko Haram. They are all going to be rushing to claim responsibility for a terrorist attack, because that's how they get the people to support them. That's how they get the Muslim man and woman in the street to support them, by bragging about their terrorism.
Wow. Is there still civil unrest between the Shiites and the Sunnis? I mean, there's that battle going on. I mean, can you give us an update on that?
Oh, sure. They're still fighting fast and furious in Syria. And in Syria, it is the classic battle between Shiites and Sunnis, where Assad is an Alawite, the Assad, the leader, Bashar Assad of Syria, who is fighting for his very life and very political life. So he is an Alawite, which is an offshoot of Shiite Islam. That's why he's supported by Iran, which is a Shiite country. And the Sunnis, there are various Sunni Islamic terrorist groups that are fighting against Assad, such as ISIS. ISIS is probably the strongest, and other ISIS or Al-Qaeda affiliated groups, which are Sunni.
Just quickly, update in Israel. Are things kind of calm at the moment?
There is no such thing. Yes, we live our day-to-day lives peacefully and fully, and in a very positive and optimistic way. But the fact is that there always is terrorism, there always is a threat of terrorism, and that's something that we've learned to contend with.
What did you think of, it's only been several days now, but you probably have heard Trump's response, Clinton's response, and President Obama's response to Orlando? Give me a rundown of each of those and how you interpreted it.
Oh, boy, that's a great question. Well, Obama, you know, again, we have this issue where he cannot get the word Islamic out of his mouth unless he's talking about the greatness of Islam and the holy words of the Quran, of the Holy Quran. That's Obama. That's Obama in a nutshell, and he will be fighting for the rights of Muslim supporters of the Islamic terrorist organizations who launched the attacks in Orlando and San Bernardino and Paris and Brussels and New York City. He'll be defending them to the end, while ignoring the rights of the victims and their families. And you know, it would be funny if it wasn't tragic, if it wasn't just incomprehensible. And of course, he'll attack Donald Trump for political reasons, but Hillary Clinton is kind of walking a tightrope, because on one hand, I think down deep she knows that the Islamic terrorism is a terrible threat to Western civilization. But at the same time, she knows that if she starts declaring that she is going to stop Islamic terrorism, or referring to it as a threat to Western civilization, then she's not going to ingratiate herself with the commander-in-chief, with Obama. And she needs the support of the Justice Department right now because of her email scandal. So I don't think we'll see too many bold statements coming out of Hillary. As for Trump, he said what needed to be said. I think he was courageous in coming out for a temporary ban on Muslim immigration to the United States. And it needs to be fine-tuned a bit. Perhaps the proposal should be to halt all immigration from individuals who have come from Muslim countries, or who have come from countries where Islamic terrorism is rampant, or who have visited countries where Islamic terrorism is rampant. And then if there are individual exceptions, well, they could be examined case by case. But I think there is a need for an overall ban at this point.
You know, David, in Trump's response, his first response, not the one since he and President Obama have exchanged jabs, but Sunday when all the news broke, he said something we've never heard a person in his position ever say before that I think resonated with a lot of Americans. He said, the radical Islamic terrorists hate gays, want to control women, and if not even hate women, or they're considered as puppets, hates the USA, hates Israel, hates Christians, hates Jews. Anything wrong with that statement?
Well, there's something wrong with all that hate, but it's an accurate statement. It's an accurate statement. He's right for saying it. And the key difference here is that, yes, there are differences among people in the free world about issues like same-sex marriage. Yes, there are differences in the free world on over the issues of how you deal with questions of religious liberty in the United States. But in the free world, you're supposed to be able to discuss these issues and argue over them even vehemently. But then we all go to the ballot box and we vote. And whatever the results are, we accept. We may not be happy about it, but we accept it because we believe in freedom and we believe in representative democracy. But in the Islamic world, they have no such mentality like that. They believe that those who disagree with you need to be hung in the public square. They believe that shoplifters have to have their hands cut off. I mean, this is according to a poll in Egypt, which is supposed to be a modern, not a religiously fanatic place in Islamic world, but They believe 80%, according to that poll, say that a Muslim who changes his faith should be killed. They believe that 68% believe that a shoplifter should have his hands cut off. And I don't remember the figure exactly. It was 70 some odd percent believe that homosexuals should be killed. So that's how they deal with disagreements. And that's what we should be concerned about, because as the Muslim population grows in Europe and in the United States, we're going to see more and more of that and demands for such policies.
David, thank you. I know your time is valuable. We value greatly the time you give us. Let's stay in touch. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, you can check out ShilohIsraelChildren.org is the website for the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, and check it out and support them. You can communicate with David through his website, davidrubinisrael.com, and look for his books at Amazon, especially The Islamic Tsunami and his latest one, Sparked from Zion. Thanks, David. Good to see you, my friend.
You're welcome. Thank you, Perry. I enjoyed it.
All right, God bless. We'll be right back.